Hi, and welcome back to Tuesdays with Tuesday. I'm Tuesday, and I write fantasy fiction under the name Mary E. Twomey. Want to see it? Oh my gosh. If you didn't know how to spell it, that's how you spell it. Today, I'm going to be reading the next chapter of my book, Taste, which is book 1 in the Tearaway series. All the books are available on paperback, hardback, ebook, audiobook. I don't read the audiobook, so you're in luck. Today, I'm going to read to you, mistakes and all, and we're going to get through chapter 23 together. Chapter 23, The Softer Side of Danny. Mary Ang's room had 2 peach walls and 2 cream ones, with gold curtains, frames, and decorations that bespoke the talents of a pricey interior decorator. Her room was more than twice the size of mine, but it came with the sounds of bickering mythological creatures echoing up from the ground floor through the vents, so that was a definite drawback. I helped Mary Ang to her king-sized bed with peach sheets and a cream comforter. The mattress was so soft and large that she looked like she was floating on a sea of sherbet. I couldn't imagine the luxury of sleeping on such a cloud. "Can you take her shoes off?" Danny asked, pulling back the cover and situating the pillows for her. I slid off the white ballet flats and peeled off her socks, donning my nurse demeanor so I could muscle past my OCD and feel her feet. It was a full day off my medication, but Vaughn had been sneaking small touches that shed layers of my neuroses, so I was better at dealing than I expected myself to be. "Her feet are ice cold, Danny. Her circulation's not what it should be." "Yeah, I don't know what to do about that, other than make sure she gets more rest. I can't exactly take her to a doctor. The healers in Tearaway haven't done the other omens before her any favors." "What kind of medicine do they practice?" "The kind that gets the most output from the omen, no matter what the cost." "I'll put it to you this way. There were 3 omens a few years ago. 2 of them died, and the other won't last the year if she keeps up at the rate she's going." "I'm all right, Danny," Mary Ang insisted, though her voice was fragile, like very thin glass. "I'm just a little tired is all." Danny nodded, though I could tell he was unhappy with how the night was turning out for her. He pulled a sweater out of the dresser drawer and some cream-colored soft pajama pants. "Will this help?" he asked us both. Mary Ang nodded and shrugged, not caring what she fell asleep in. I moved to the dresser and guessed at which drawer held socks. "She needs thick socks with no band on them to keep her feet warm while she sleeps." "Are her hands cold?" "Always, but they're especially icy in the evening," Danny answered, relieved to be getting some help. It was the least antagonistic he'd been to me thus far. "Then she should sleep with gloves on for tonight until I can get a better look at her tomorrow. Sleeping with her legs elevated will help a little." I reached for the doorknob when Mary Ang started to unbutton her dress. "Wait," Danny called. "Just let me help her change and then come back and tell me what else I need to do." I turned to look at them over my shoulder and saw the rare glimpse of pleading soften his Frankenstein monster-like features. "Please." "Sure, I can help. Call me in when she's decent." I stepped out into the hallway and waited for only 1 minute before Danny came to retrieve me. I heard arguing from the conference room, but most of it was unintelligible. "You said her legs should be elevated. How much?" Mary Ang looked up at me with hopeful eyes, like I might be able to cure her with an aspirin. Would that I could. "Here, first lay down and get comfortable." I watched as Danny helped her lay down on the mattress. Then I picked up a thick pillow from the head of the bed next to hers and folded it in half. "Now I'm just going to lift your legs and slide this under your knees. Is that uncomfortable?" I catalogued her face for signs of distress that might indicate something more serious in her joints. "No, but that's Danny's pillow. Can we use a different one?" I couldn't quite picture the man who'd slapped me across the face sleeping in the feminine peach room. That little mental image would be one of my favorite things to make me giggle when I needed a boost. "No," Danny ruled. "If it'll help, use it. I can get a different pillow, no problem." "You give up too much for me." She reached over and placed her hand on his. "You need to rest too." "I feel fine." He slid the thick comforter up to her chest and kissed her lips. Though the kiss was simple, the 2 of them shuddered, inhaling as if something far more intimate was going on. I wanted to escape the affectionate display, but I put on my best nurse smile and waited patiently. Now get some sleep. We'll come up with a new plan in the morning, and everything will start looking up, yeah? Marianne's voice was quiet but firm. You can't put off the inevitable. I appreciate being able to feel my feet and all, but don't go thinking October can save my life. Don't put that on her. We both know I've got barely a year left, if I'm lucky. Danny closed his eyes as he leaned over to kiss her again, invoking that same sensual shudder from them both. When you talk like that, it kills me. I'll take care of it. Don't I always? You're not dying if I have anything to say about it. Danny Bear, it's all right. Her arms were weak, but they managed to loop around his neck when he needed it most. He kissed her again, and I averted my eyes as I inched for the door. Nurse or not, there were some things I just couldn't stomach. The public love stuff always made me a little queasy. Danny sensed my retreat, so he ended the kiss and turned off the lamp, shutting Marianne in the room for the night. Danny leaned against the bedroom door in the hallway, closing his worn eyes and sighing at the unending labor of his life. When he finally stood straight, it was with the air of readying himself to fight a bull. You're a doctor, right? I'm a nurse. Big difference. Like eons of difference. The doctor I worked under, Brendan, was gracious and trusted me with far more duties than a nurse at a hospital would be given, but it wasn't the same thing as having an MD after my name. Can you help her? I can try. But she should really be seen by a doctor, don't you think? Sure, but who could she possibly go to? Omens are half from this world and half from Tearaway. I don't know anyone qualified for that. I followed Danny down to the kitchen and washed my hands in the sink 3 times while he fished a pad of paper and pen from the drawer. If it's true that our makeup's different than humans, why hasn't anything weird turned up on my tests? I mean, you all said I'm half human and half matriculan. Wouldn't my blood be different than a regular person's? Danny considered this. I honestly don't know. The Omens have only ever been treated by Tearaway doctors, and it fails every time. Maybe they're more human in nature than anything else. I mean, I've had extensive blood work done, and I see my general practitioner twice a year. They've never turned up anything weird on me. Well, not mythologically weird, anyway. Then let's try it the human way. Marianne's mother was part human. What's Ezra? I asked out of idle curiosity. Matriculan. Only matriculan can have children with full humans, but it's difficult for the baby to actually come out. What do you mean? Why is it harder for the woman to have a baby if the father is matriculan? Matriculan men are unnaturally drawn to pregnant women and fetuses. Triggers an animalistic hunger that's hard to control. There have been many who have tried to knock up a woman in hopes she has a baby who turns out to be an omen, but they usually end up eating the baby and the mother. My mouth fell open in horror. Are you kidding me? That's disgusting! Ezra eats babies? And pregnant women? My mouth fell open in horror. Danny rolled his eyes like I was being dramatic, like what he'd just said wasn't fodder for the worst kind of horror movie. Bruce Campbell would never dream of starring in a movie with a plot as psychotic as that, I was certain. Danny was unperturbed by my shock. Of course not. You've met his daughter. He clearly didn't eat her. He furrowed his eyebrows. I thought you were a doctor. Doctors are supposed to be smart, yeah? Shut your donut hole. What about Mary Yang's mom? She was hit by a car. Your world killed her, not mine. Not every matriculan lacks self-control. Non-human eating matriculan men exist, but there just aren't all that many out there. Ezra eats a lot of animal meat instead to compensate. It takes more self-control than most have. He sat down on the stool at the freshly scrubbed counter with his pen and paper. Okay, hit me with whatever you've got that might help Mary Yang. I dried off my hands on the towel, going through my mental list aloud. Okay, she should sleep exactly like that with her legs up, if she can. Tomorrow night she could take a hot bath to stimulate blood flow. Every night, actually. She can go on short walks to get her heart going. I watched Danny write everything down with rapt attention. Green tea, do you have any? Danny stood from his stool. I'll pop over to the store and get some right now. Easy, Tiger. Not much is open right now. It's not a cure-all. It's just something that might help a little bit. If we do enough things that might help, like 1%, eventually all that help might start adding up so we can build her health some positive momentum. Okay, what else? When she drinks water, make sure it's warm, not cold. Cold water tends to make the blood vessels constrict. I demonstrated by clenching my fist. And no coffee, no caffeine of any kind. That really doesn't help. Danny's shoulders deflated. That's not gonna go over well. I shrugged. She doesn't have to do any of these things. They're not a cure. Just little building blocks that might help in small ways. I'll take anything at this point. Danny looked utterly spent from the long day and what looked to be a hard life for him. He jerked his head toward the room where all the arguing was coming from. When you get back in there, don't let them walk all over you. As far as hierarchy goes, the only person more valuable than you is Ezra, since you'll be reporting to him. Don't let them talk over you or shut you up. And don't break eye contact with the goblin. Titus can sense if you're afraid of him. Should I be? Danny shuddered. Oh, yeah. The whole lot of them are absolutely ruthless. That's how they got to where they are now. Goblins didn't used to have a seat on the council, you know. Now they try to run everything every time. Hold your ground in there. Start off a pawn this early in the game and you'll never shake it. Okay, thanks. Danny nodded once. You actually did quite well in there before. Best get back to it before they start making decisions for you. All right, thanks, Danny. You know, I was wrong about you. I thought you were the meanest man alive. Now you're mingled somewhere in the top 10. He snorted and waved me away. Well, you're still the most annoying person I've ever met. I was spot on about that. I gave him a sweet little shove off his stool before I stomped toward the conference room, throwing open the door to garner the attention of the bickering creatures. We read chapter 23 together. We are amazing. What are you reading lately? Right now, I just finished reading How to Be an Anti-Racist. It's very good. It's read by the author, who's a professor, and his wife is a doctor. It's very good. So if you're in the mood for nonfiction, that is fantastic. The fiction that I'm reading right now, I'm actually reading with my 10-year-old daughter. We are reading Fairest by Marissa Myers, which is the prequel to the Lunar Chronicles series. And it is about like Snow White's evil stepmother. It's very good. If you have, I would suggest though reading like the Lunar Chronicles first, even though like prequels are okay to read first, but just my personal opinion. The Lunar Chronicles, very good. And then reading the prequel was like, oh yay, I get extra ice cream tonight. It was very nice. And bonus, my 10-year-old, like that is young to read. Those books are like Twilight thick, like they are thick books. We read all 4 of the Lunar Chronicles together, and now we are doing Ferris together. We are doing them on audiobook, and we only listen to them in the car during drives, and she like loves it. She will even be like playing her iPad in the back seat and like laugh along to the jokes, or be like, oh no she didn't, when something horrendous happens. So if you're thinking, man, I just don't have the time to sit and read, that's okay, and you don't have to take this tip. That's fine. However, if you're just looking for a little extra treat for yourself, listening to an audiobook in the car on your drives is actually kind of nice and relaxing and almost like a little reward for yourself of like, man, I gotta take this drive. However, I get to listen to a really cool audiobook. So I recommend that. And of course, if you want to listen ahead on Taste, that is also available on audio. I don't read it. Someone better at performing and reading and producing reads that, for which you're welcome. I will see you next Tuesday on Tuesdays with Tuesday, and we will read the next chapter of Taste.